Our topic today is Chapter 3, Section 3, and our goals are, we have two of them. By the time this lesson is over, I will be able to, number one, describe at least 3 complex patterns of inheritance, and number 2, discuss how characteristics result from inheritance and environmental factors. This is Chapter 3, Section 3, on heredity, and it's called Patterns of Inheritance. Your teacher will tell you on what page to write these notes, but go ahead and get these down. And remember, if at any time during this video I get talking too fast, all you have to do is hit the pause button. But before we continue, let's go ahead and listen to this really cool, groovy song.
That's why your eyes are so blue. A phenotype is the physical expression of a particular trait. It's the color of your eyes, my sweet honey pie, that makes my heart skip a beat. Mama and your daddy, girl, they must have had the best genes, near or far. Their alleles got together, they created the angel that has stolen my heart. You're homozygous, so there's no difference in the two alleles you got from your two parents. But I'm a heterozygous, and what that means is my two alleles are different versions of that gene. I can tell by looking at you what a beautiful phenotype you possess. But your genotype, your genetic makeup is not so easy to assess. I can tell from your phenotype what alleles you have in your genotype. Not even with your blood type, but I know you're just my type. Girl, your phenotype is showing. That's what phenotypes do. Yeah, they're part of the reason. That's why your eyes are so blue.
Pretty cool, huh? So, let's get out of this. I'll go back to this PowerPoint. So, that was just a review, right, on phenotypes and genotypes and what they are. Hope you enjoyed it. So, our first word is incomplete dominance, and notice that this is in red. It's one of the complex patterns of inheritance. And in this picture here, we can see we have a red flower and we have a white flower, and they get mated, big R, and little r. So right away we know red is dominant. And so this parent can only pass on big R alleles, or gametes they're called. And this one can only pass on little r. Well, when a big R and a little r come together, in the past we've learned that red wins, and so the plant would be red. But in incomplete dominance, that's not the case. It's the pink one. It ends up being pink. Now, they still get the dominant allele from the red one, and they still get the recessive allele from the white one, but they actually end up pink. Mendel didn't know this at the time, right? He thought that there were no averages, there were no blends, but there is a condition called incomplete dominance in which there is a blend, there is an average. And so, as you can see here, half, is big R, and the other half is little r. And then when you cross the F1s, the big R, little r, with a big R, little r, what you end up with is big R, big R, big R, little r, big R, little r, and little r, little r. If you have two big R's, remember big R still stands for red, you're going to be red. If you have two little r's and little r stands for white, it's the recessive condition, you're going to be white. But in this case, if you are hybrid or heterozygous, you're going to be pink. That's incomplete dominance. So let's write down that in incomplete dominance, only one allele is partially dominant. So in this case, the red is dominant, but only partially. Here's another example, same deal. Red crossed with white. This is the parents. And they have only the ability of producing big R, little r's, which are hybrids. And so in this case, they have 5 of them showing here for the F1, 6 of them, or 5 of them showing for the F1 generation. If you were to take one of these flowers and cross it with a little r, here's your possibilities. You could be big R, or you could be little r. If you were to cross big R, with a big R, as they've done here, then you've got 3 possibilities. You could be big R, big R, or little r. 2 littles means you're white, 1 of each means you're pink, 2 big R's means you're red. So that's incomplete dominance. Another example, kind of the same thing, cross a big R, 2 homozygous dominants, a white and a red. And so here would be the white parent alleles, and here would be the red parent alleles. In this case, this parent can only give big R's, this parent can only give big W's. 1 of each means that we're going to have pink. And I want you to notice in incomplete dominance, sometimes they use a second letter. We've always learned to use a big R or a big letter in a small one. But in this case, they use two of the same, 2 big letters, two big different letters, to indicate that they're partially dominant. They're both of them are partially dominant. So this R is only partially dominant. Why? Because the white is really partially as well. So another example, they put the female on top here. Here's another way to write it. That's the only reason I showed you this. Is that C, I guess, stands for color, but a big R and a big W. We're pretending that that's what's in mama's eggs. And then a big R and a big W, again, that's what's in daddy's sperm. And R stands for red and W stands for white. And so sometimes they put these letters up in the air. And so if you cross an R with an R, you get an RR. If you cross an R with a W, you get an RW. If you cross a W with an R, you get an RW. If you cross a W with a W, you get a WW. 2 big R's, 2 R's is red, 2 W's is white. 1 of each means that you're in between. So don't be alarmed. You're going to see that in some circumstances where they actually use 2 different letters to show this. Okay, the second condition that's a complex pattern is called codominance. This is when both alleles are expressed equally. Neither are dominant, neither are recessive. So don't even think about partial dominance like we just did in that condition. But in this condition, both alleles are expressed equally. Neither are dominant, neither are recessive. And so an example of that, actually I have lots of pictures for examples. Codominance, we see both the red and the white. We don't see pink. Both the red and the white are expressed equally. There are some cows in which if this is the mommy and this is the daddy or whatever, that the baby has both. It's not a blend. It's not kind of like tan. You get white and you get brown. So both of them. Here's a gorgeous flower in which we have maroon and purple that this flower inherited. And we have maroon and purple. There's not a blend here, an average. This one got pink and this one got yellow. So both of them are co-dominant. Even though it's called codominance, you might seem to think that means, well, both are dominant. No, neither are dominant and neither are recessive. They're just both expressed equally. That's the co part, the both part. This is just kind of a beaver and a duck giving you whatever this is. But so you can see the beaver part is expressed just like the rest of it is as well. And then chickens. This one is black and white. It's not gray. It's got both black and white in it. So both the black gene and the white gene are dominant, or are neither dominant, but they both show. They're expressed equally. Cats, depending on which alleles that they get, you can see that this guy is not a blend of black plus white plus brown, and we kind of get a, I don't know, grand gray sand color or something. We get the brown, the white, and the brown. So they're all expressed equally. Rabbits, real common in codominance is really, really obvious in rabbits and real popular in rabbits as well. This guy is black and white. He's not gray. Gray would be, an average between those. This guy got some black genes and he got some white genes, and both of them are expressed equally. Neither one of them are dominant. The third condition is called multiple alleles, and we know that the word multiple means more than one. So in this condition, write down 3 or more alleles determine the trait. You can still only get one from each parent for a total of 2. Just because there's 3 or more alleles out there, you still only get 2. So blood type is one of those. We're pretending that this would be the female alleles, and of course these would be the male. If you have blood type A and A, you from mom and from dad, you're going to have an A and an A. An A from mom, a B from dad, an A and a B. An A from mom, an I from dad, it would be an A and an I. A B and an A from mom would be a B and an A. A B and a B from dad would be a B and a B. A B and an I would be BI. And then an A and an I gives you AI. A B and an I is BI. And 2 I's give you I's. And actually, take a look here. This one obviously would be blood type A. This would be AB. Okay, one of them isn't dominant. It's your blood type AB. Both of them are expressed. In this case, when you have an A plus really nothing, then you're going to be an A. An A and a B means you're going to be AB. A B and a B means you're going to be B. A B and nothing means you're going to be B. An A and nothing means you're going to be A. A B and nothing means you're going to be B. And 2 nothings would give you blood type O. So that's why blood type O is so rare. There's only 1 out of 9 ways to get it. So blood type is determined by 3 different alleles. You can still only get 2, and that's what this shows. This 1/9 of the box shows what you could get if you got these 2 alleles. These two, these two, these two, these two. So you still only have 2 alleles that you can get from mom and dad, but there's 3 different alleles you can get. And corn, it's the same way. You can have red, you can be yellow, or you can be a combination of red and yellow. So there's some other colors going on here as well. So there's more than 1 allele is the point. More than 2, I should say. Mice, agouti mice. You can be yellow, you can be black. This is considered black with yellow belly. And if that's the case, if those get crossed, you're going to be yellow. If yellow gets crossed with black, you're still going to be yellow. So yellow would appear to be the dominant trait. And if you have a black and yellow belly and cross a black, then you might end up with a yellow belly and a black. So again, there's 3 alleles. There's the yellow allele, there's the black allele, and there's the yellow belly and black allele. So you can still only get 2 from your parents, but there's 3 different kinds of alleles that control the color of agouti mice. Polygenic inheritance. This is red as well. Please make sure that this is highlighted. Polygenic inheritance. Poly means many. Ik means nature of or like. So this is the nature of many genes. And in polygenic inheritance, such as height in humans, more than 1 gene working together affects a trait. So there isn't such a thing as the height gene. There are several height genes, and they work together producing a height. And so you would end up in between this and this, not just if you've got the height gene or not, but depending on other genes that you have that affect those genes. So there's many genes that work together. And they will determine what your height is. Eye color is another one. Let's go back. Eye color is another one. There's more than 1 gene. You don't just get a blue gene or a brown gene and one's dominant over the other, and that's going to be your eye color. So you get a gene from mom and dad, but there's other genes you got from mom and dad. Maybe gene number 5 that interacts with the eye color gene. And if the eye color gene we're calling number 1, then number 1 would be affected by number 5, and maybe 5 is affected by number 22, and number 22 is affected by 319. So all of those genes work together to produce your eye color. So here's a little quiz. Is this example here, black chicken crossed with a white chicken? And we get a black and white chicken. Is that codominance, incomplete dominance, or polygenic? If you said codominance, you are correct. Both the black and the white are equally expressed here. They both show up, so that's codominance. Here's another one. Red plus white gives us mostly pink. And if you said that that's incomplete dominance, you are correct. It's incomplete because the red isn't completely there. It's incomplete. It's influenced by the white. So the red really is dominant, but it's only partially dominant. And then let's talk for a second about our second goal on inherited and acquired traits. And notice that this should actually be in red instead of blue. So this is going to be a vocab word. Speaking a different language. That's an acquired trait. Why? Because you learn it. So someone could be, really, really good at languages. Maybe their parents are foreign, and so they've, heard a lot of foreign words. But then if you never get exposed and never take a class in the language, you're probably not going to be very good at it, right? So that's acquired. Acquired means you get it because of something that you've done, something that happened in your environment. Getting a callus on your finger. Most people are not born with calluses on their finger, but because you write a certain way and it pushes the pencil into your hand, you'll develop a callus. Well, you acquired that. You weren't born with that. Haircuts, hair color. If you have red hair, or if you have blue hair, or purple hair, or green hair, those are not normal human colors for hair. And so, but you could have those. Why? Because you acquired that trait. Something happened in your environment that gave you that. Haircuts, that's acquired. It's not controlled by the genes that you inherited from mom and dad. But the environment can affect how genes are expressed. Okay? Here's an example. Playing a musical instrument. So there is a gene for being musically talented. We see a lot of famous composers and musicians throughout the years that had famous parents. And so there's no doubt that there could be some genetic inheritance of a music gene. But if your parents never, ever, ever let you play it, or you never took lessons, or you never enrolled in a class, chances are you're not going to be a very good musician. So, but you still have that gene for the musical instrument. So that's inherited, but yet the environment affects how this gene is expressed. In fact, in the example I just gave you, the gene would not be expressed at all because you wouldn't be a very good musician without any kind of practice at it. How about tobacco smoke and cancer? There are genes for developing, for example, lung cancer. But if you never smoke in your life, and let's say you inherited the lung cancer gene, you may never develop it, right? That gene and how it's expressed, in other words, producing cancer, may need cigarette smoke to make it activated. On the other hand, we have a lot of people we have people who have developed lung cancer that don't have the lung cancer gene. Why? Because the environment is now affecting how other genes are expressed, your good genes that say you have good lungs. Well, if you're going to put a bunch of cigarette smoke on top of them for a number of years, chances are increased that you are going to develop lung cancer. Keep in mind, if you change your body cell, it does not change the sperm and egg, so it can't get passed on to offspring. Write this down, highlight it all in red, and then if you need to pause, you can, but this is what this means. Let's pretend that you get to be 20 years old and you're in an awful accident and you lose one of your fingers. Okay, so now you've changed your body cells. All the cells that make up your finger that you lost are gone. So does that mean if you have a child, you could pass on a gene for no finger? No, not at all. If you have genes that say you have all 10 fingers, that's what you're going to pass on. So just because something in your body changes doesn't mean, unless you change your sperm and your egg, it can't get passed on. Okay? So keep that in mind. That's a real common misconception among students. And students seem to think that if you lose your leg for whatever reason, then you have children that you could pass on a gene that says that they're going to lose their legs as well. So that brings us to the end. We are going to be doing an activity on these different kinds of complex patterns. So